Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone who has joined this Revenue Leadership webinar of Sunday, the 24th of October 2021. Welcome to the Revenue Leadership series. One of the features of Sales Ruby. And I'm delighted to welcome some of our panelists, as well as many of you who are joining us from all across Africa. If you're here with us this afternoon and you can hear me loud and clear, please type in the comment box. I can hear you loud and clear. Type in the comment box. I can hear you loud and clear. Loud and clear. Type in the comment box if you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. Bolaji says, I can hear you loud and clear. Mr. Alex Gomez says, I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome. Florence Awoshika says, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for joining us. Monsurat Demola says, I can hear you loud and clear. And Oguniru Victor says, loud and clear. Deola Debita says, loud and clear. Lovelin Udofia says, loud and clear. Fumi Oridota says, loud and clear. Please type where you're watching us from, where you're listening to us from. Basmos Abudu says loud and clear. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, it's my delight this afternoon to welcome you, to welcome first and foremost our panelists. And we have a very eminent panelist this afternoon. Fola Shade Olubogi says, Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us, Fola Shade from Lagos. I'm delighted, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome a man that all of us in the revenue leadership space have come to name the grandfather of revenue leadership in Africa, Mr. Alex Goma. Mr. Alex, how are you doing today? Mr. Goma, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
And you can enable your video so our participants can see you. Fedolakpo, thank you for joining us from Lagos, Nigeria. Johnson Lakwege, thank you for joining us from Lagos, from Port Harcourt. Good afternoon, Mr. Alex. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you, Bunmi. I'm fine, and you?
I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you.
I can hear you loud and clear, Bunmi. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Bunmi.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. You're very loud and clear.
All right, thank you for joining us. Mr. Alex Goma is a 1989 graduate of the University of Port Harcourt and holds another BSc in law from the University of London. He's had very extensive work experience, starting from Procter & Gamble to his days in British American Tobacco, where he was head of trade marketing, going all the way to become the sales director at Guinness, in as far away as 2010, and then moving on to become the MD of the Consumer SBA in PZ Cuisines. And now he currently sits as one of the leading directors in Grand Cereals. Welcome, Mr. Alex Goma. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Bunmi. Nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for joining us. I'm delighted also to welcome another friend, someone who I consider a very, very, very fine gentleman and a refined revenue leader, Chidi Oji. Chidi is a graduate of electronics from the Enugu State University. Started his career as IT World Limited, moved on to Fresh Funds, and then, rose to become, head of enterprise sales at Swift Networks, and then went on to Hartford and became head of financial services sales. Right now, in the last 3 to 4 years, Chidi has operated as a VP of sales for Africa at Africa's biggest, technology for HR solutions called Seamless HR. Chidi is VP of sales in that company. I'm delighted to welcome Chidi Oji. And Chidi used to be an actor too, so don't be too shocked. See a little bit of acting skits in this conversation this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Bumi. It's a pleasure to be here, and good afternoon, everybody. Nice to have you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
All right, thank you very much. Delighted once again to welcome Alex Goma and Chidi Oji, two of them extremely gifted and talented revenue leaders. So the conversation this afternoon is going to revolve around how our attendees can close the year with a big bang, how they can close the year on a fantastic note. It's so good to start very well, but always much better to finish on a good and exciting note. So I'm going to be starting from Mr. Goma. It's been a tough year for most businesses, and whether you like it or not, thank you, Solomon, for joining us from Port Harcourt. Solomon is joining from Port Harcourt. All right. Whether you like it or not, COVID has yet again had another impact on 2021, as it did in 2020. Mr. Goma, you want to give us an overview of what your perception of business dynamics has been in this year? What has been the most critical factors in informing or affecting consumer and buyer choices and the business environment generally? What's been your own evaluation of the business environment, Mr. Goma?
I think the business environment has been tough. I think most people expected that COVID, the impact will reduce from last year because you didn't have the lockdowns that you had last year, this year. However, I think what we end up seeing is the lag effect from previous years, but a couple of things have made it tougher from the external environment. If you look at interest rates, so for organizations where some of your inputs depend on availability of Forex and the price, it means that you have a higher base because Forex has gone up. Bank interest rates last year were lower, part of government incentives to support COVID and support several sectors. But as the pressure on the banks started to rise, especially with CBN lifting up some of those things, you find there's a pressure on interest rates going up. So interest costs, expenses for people are getting higher. A lot of raw materials have been affected as a result of that, depending on the type of raw material or where you're sourcing. They've also had that impact. Consumers have become poorer because in real terms, if you look at inflation in the last 2 years, you're talking about average of 16%. Which means for any person who got less than 16% salary increase in the last 2 years, it just means that you lost money.
You're working for your employers.
So you lost money. So consumers have lost money, prices have gone up. You also have logistics challenges because certain parts of the country are difficult to assess, especially if you're dealing with physical goods, parts of the northeast, northwest, and even the southeast, where you have in a couple of areas the 1 or 2 day lockdown. Even if you are in technology, there are certain places as a result of the fight on terror, some of the networks have had to shut down in certain areas to support. Yes. So overall, it's been a very, very tough environment. And basically what this has meant is things are tough for quite a number of businesses. Now, what it also brings out is for businesses that had underlying health issues and had never had to address them, this
underlying health issues,
this combination of
factors
things that have happened and factors means that it could be disastrous for the business.
For them, in a more compromised position.
So you find some businesses that have grown because the brands are strong. They therefore able to take the pressure of price increases because consumers can afford, or they have a mixed portfolio where you have low price items that therefore consumers can fall back to. So you have a kind of balance. So there are mixed results. If you look in the environment, you'll find some sectors are doing well. You find some sectors are struggling. The banks, which were supposed to be the drivers of the economy, have been one of the beneficiaries because I think they're lucky. Part of their funds come from the fact that you do transactions. So it's not because they're adding value. It's just the fact that for every transaction you made, you get charged a fee. So they make money whether or not they give you extra value. And that's because some of the reforms started by the previous CBN governor were sort of reversed right now. So some of those reduction in charges that were happening were sort of stopped and reversed. So that's a summary of the overall environment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goma. I mean, very insightful overview. Chidi, you play more in the technology space and very profoundly have some understanding around how that environment works. In Africa, generally speaking, what's been the impact of the last 2 years of COVID on business, and how has it panned out for business, technology entrepreneurs, and revenue leaders like you?
Yeah, thank you, Bumi. I think for me, it's been really big. It's been really tough in the last 2 years, like you mentioned. If you look at the technology world today, technology is fast evolving. So if you've been in the business of technology selling, technology business generally, you would understand that one thing, since the pandemic, there have been a lot of vast technology solutions coming up and now and there. So what this has meant to a lot of businesses that, competitions have toughened even more. So you have a lot of companies trying to change their business strategy to be able to make revenue within the technology space. So what this has also meant to revenue and sales leaders is that there has to be that point where people have to reposition to be able to understand how best to get into that market and pick the money, pick the revenue that there is to make. And just to also add, especially since the beginning of this year, which is the post-pandemic, there have been a lot where businesses have perhaps, lost a lot in terms of resources, some kind of strategies that they may have developed during the pandemic year. Now, pandemic is gone, and some of these businesses are then struggling, trying to understand what next, what else can we do just to sort of like reposition ourselves to be able to stand in business, seeing that competitions are springing up, now and then. So it's a time for every leader to be able to take that, kind of serious thought about what else can we do? What are the things that we need to do to be able to begin to harness the different opportunities that are in the market, seeing how technology has evolved. So for me, I think it's been tough. It's been tough, really. It's been tough. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chidi. I'm going to come back to Mr. Alex very briefly. I mean, as we begin to look at how do our viewers and participants, how do they how can they finish strong the year 2021? It's been a tough year. Everybody here seems to have that agreement that it's been a tough year. So we have about just 2.5 months to the end of the year, Mr. Guma. I'd like you to take a long range look into the remaining part of the year, November and December. From a leadership standpoint, what do you think brands and businesses can begin to do to ensure that the values they have created in terms of pipeline generation, the course of the last 8-10 months can be harnessed and they can make the most of it? Do you think it's the time for new initiatives? Do you think it's the time for you to slow down on initiatives? Do you think it's the time to launch new brands? What do you think are the critical steps that leadership can take right now to ensure that the year still ends on a respectable note in terms of revenue, Naira and Kobo?
A couple of things. So you asked, do I think it's the time to launch new brands? Typically, for me, I usually will advise against launching a new brand in the last 2-3 months of the year, simply because you need to do your basics right. If you launch a brand, you've got to build distribution, you've got to build the right kind of awareness, and at that time, after that time, then you're expecting the offtake to happen. At the year end, where you're expecting your commercial team to close on the targets for the year and go after priorities, it's not the right time to start nurturing a new brand. A new brand is like a baby, it needs the right kind of attention for it to grow. Meanwhile, for year end, there will always be conflicting priorities between we want to make sure the brand is established, and at the same time, we want to get the revenues for the year end. So my advice usually is if you want to launch a new brand, probably do it before the start of the last quarter. That way, whatever mileage you get and getting some of your basics, your distribution right, your marketing campaigns, and you start to get some critical mass, it is easier for you to benefit from the uplift you will get in the year end, because year end is typically period where, depending on the kind of products that you offer, there's usually increased consumption. So my advice towards the year end is always look at there are a few simple basic things that typically will ensure that you have or you can meet your numbers. If you check and do a revision of what has happened through the course of the year, we don't typically do it, but you'll find out that there are instances or months where your performance has been poor, not because you couldn't sell, but because simple things like product being available at the right time, or
product availability.
Yes, it's not met. So in last quarter is to look at the areas where there's real opportunity and just make sure that you can put everybody's focus towards that. Can we ensure we have product? And you work backwards. It means that to some of the tiny or small raw materials that can have an outage, you deal with. Because the impact sometimes is more than double in this year end. There's an increased demand for logistics across quite a number of sectors. So if you don't have the materials ready, your cost to get them to your sites will often be much more difficult. So can you focus on getting your products available? Can you focus on making sure that your delivery reliability works so that you can turn around your goods faster number of times? Can you ensure that, okay, this is a time when all the consumer issues are dealt with? Because if you're in certain sectors where you have competition and people need the products, they're going to find the substitutes. If people want to eat food, you're not available, and this is the festive period where people are going to eat, they're going to buy somebody else's brand. So it's just, this is the time to work on the basics, critical. What are the things that will give you scale? If I fix this problem, right, I will get most of the results. So yes, you have some brands, you're doing well, you have some of the categories or SKUs you have in your business, but they are tiny. The results can be fantastic. You can grow 100%, 300%. The impact on the bottom line is limited.
It's very minimal.
So I think it's good to focus your sales team and the entire organization on the 2 or 3 things that will make the most difference. That if they hit those things, right, you will see the impact either in revenue increase or in cost reduction, because either of these 2 can help you close your year. So this is not the time for complexity. This is the time for simplicity, going after a few big things and just making sure that you push your team to recognize that. This is also not the time to turn back and be trying to do 1,001 analysis, looking for blames. No, you recognize the good wins, you put a lot of focus towards that, you recognize all the positive behavior and just keep on pushing towards that. There will be enough time in January to do a postmortem about what went wrong or what we didn't get wrong. What you want is a quick review of what is not working and how can we turn it around and how do we just keep everyone going. Those are my thoughts about what you will need to do for the end.
Very fantastic thoughts right there. I mean, I can just summarize this very quickly. I mean, you said this is the time, for example, to make a product available. It looks very elementary, but that's the truth. Many products are not available. In some instances where you're selling technology solutions, it is the people who deliver the products that are not available. I mean, I had a very, very serious experience. We're trying to change our internet service providers, and it took how long for them to, deploy? And this is not that time. So you spoke about product availability. Second thing you talked about is deliverability, the reliability of your delivery. You need to work on that, and that's another critical area. You talked about being able to focus right now, not getting too complex, because this is the time for the simple things. Just iron out the simple things and keep them simple, not getting things complex. And I'm going to ask you, Chidi, in terms of making things simple, I would ask you, what are the things, simple things for B2B businesses that you need to get right at this time? But before that, you also mentioned about not having too much analysis. I mean, that's one problem that business leaders, are guilty of. The paralysis of analysis, trying too desperately to analyze across the way because they want to improve efficiency. This is not the time to get everything right in terms of efficiency. It's just the time, however you score the goal, just take the ball across the finish line. It doesn't matter whether it was scored with the leg or with a hand. I mean, you shouldn't score the goal with the hand, please. But from what you're saying, you shouldn't be doing too much analysis. And lastly, you mentioned that this is the time for critical execution, not the time for taking, starting new initiatives. Chidi, let me come back to you and ask this question. For B2B businesses, what are the, simple things that you need to be tidying up right now?
Right. I think first of all is
guys. If you have questions, please ensure we have close to 200 participants in this particular session. Please, if you have questions, get those questions ready. I'll be giving you the opportunity to ask your questions, even enabling your mic. If you're fast enough, I'll enable your mic so that you can speak directly to the panelists. Go ahead, Chidi. Thank you.
Yeah. So just like Alex mentioned, it's really not the time to start all sort of analysis and complex we're looking into what had happened in the past. So for me, I think I would have to highlight that the one of the first simple things that businesses and revenue leaders should consider at this point where the year is winding down is to relook into the pipeline that had been generated from the beginning of the year. Now, if you were the kind of sales organization that was very heavy on sales process, you would understand that there is what we call sales frictions or sales clogs. Now, what this means is that when you generate pipeline and you begin to reach out to all of these people prospects within your pipeline, begin to engage them, you will notice exactly prospects. So you will notice that there are stages where some of the prospects begin to drop off. So now what I used to advise is that you look at what your critical sales frictions are. In most organizations, they are cost related, brand trusts, maybe pricing model, and so on and so forth. So there are many reasons why people would want to
Sometimes
say, oh, we can continue.
Poor engagement also.
Correct, very correct. Poor engagement, wrong messaging, wrong content. You are targeting the right people with the wrong messaging. So you're not getting those feedback that would help you to begin to make those conversions that is needful. So what I'm highlighting here is that it is the time to look back into those frictions that didn't allow people to make progress. Perhaps you've been reaching out, they are not responding to your calls. You've been reaching out, they are not responding to your emails. So when you study those frictions, now bringing you down into executions, what are then the tactics that you can begin to put into work to be able to make those
to move them deeper into the time pipeline?
Very correct. Now, when you also look at it, I'm big on one of the sales professionals in B2B, which is Jill Conrad. Now, Jill Conrad wrote one of the most selling B2B books called Snap Selling, which is, it's an acronym for S for simple, N for invaluable, A for alignment, and then P for priority. Now, when you understand this snap selling methodology, what it basically helps you to do is to understand what kind of engagements are some of your buyer persona require to be able to make some kind of decisions. So for instance, you are selling a software or you're selling a hardware. There are many different things that people consider before they make these purchases. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning, if you are heavy in sales process and being able to create all your sales enablement and cadences, you'll see that when you revisit, and of course, you cannot achieve all of this if you don't have a good CRM tool. I used to tell people this, there is no, sales is scientific. There is no any other way to do sales other than to following the right process for you to be able to generate the kind of revenue that you require. So in a nutshell here, the simple things that you're basically looking into are just take a look at where there have been frictions, basically. Things are not moving. People are not responding to those calls, to those emails that you had reached out. And this is perhaps almost the right time for these people to make decisions. And I keep also saying one thing, that people, because when you don't have sales cadences, you will see that there are different touch points on your sales process that you'll be missing out. People don't understand the right time to do follow-ups. In fact, there was a recent incident that happened that there was a particular prospect that we were engaging. And at some point, the team, my sales team, had to overlook that opportunity because the client was not forthcoming. Now, guess what happened? When the decision-making time arrived, the current people that my team was engaging at that time had left the organization, and there was a new team. And this new team—
So you need to start over again.
They had to start all over again, and they were looking for who are the providers that can give us this solution. And my company was not in the picture because someone did not do what he is supposed to do. So what this means is that we need to, create those cadences that help us to understand when to be able to reach out to these people, even if it has been a long time ago that you reached out and they didn't respond to you. And this time around, because if you understand the buyer's journey and persona matrix, you would, of course, understand what are those critical things that these people consider in making their decisions. Then if you are doing a follow-up call or an email, try to tie your content, try to tie your message to be able to speak. And that's why the SNAP methodology, like I said, mentioned about the A is alignment. Try to make your message to align, with what those people are thinking of at that at that very point in time. So these different, execution steps are very critical in this very short time to be able to wind the year down if we want to turn things around to achieve the kind of results that will make impacts for this year.
Thank you very much, Chidi. This is getting very interesting and very exciting. Very deep conversations. If you look at it, we're taking this from both from the B2B, B2C landscape and taking it from the B2B landscape, just so that every participant here, gets value. What Chidi was saying in a nutshell is that it is time for you to analyze what is inside your pipeline. Much of that pipeline has been generated from the beginning of the year till now. It is not time to keep generating new ones. You should generate new ones. But if, for example, your deal cycle is 3 months, you know for free, right, that any pipeline you create today is for 2022. So as you continue to create the opportunities for 2022, it's important right now that you look critically at the opportunities you created but did not optimally, did not realize in the course of the year. It's time for you to take a surgical analysis of each and every of those opportunities. You don't want any one of them to slip off. And in doing so, like Chidi has said, it's important that you analyze the reasons why each and every of this deal did not close, right? I mean, just the right messaging sent by your marketing team can get a deal to resurrect. For example, just a couple of days ago, one person that my team had been pursuing for a deal of about 6 million naira reached back. Why? Because the right messaging kept going out from my team, and eventually, we're closing out on that. So I want to encourage you, like Chidi said, that this is the time to go and look at all your deals from January, whether the guys who started those deals are within your organization or they're no longer within your organization. Go take a cursory overview of all of those deals one by one and look at each one. Why did we not close this? And please, it is time to be flexible. Don't say we must sell at 100% premium. It is time to be flexible. If you think that making a little bit of change in terms of pricing can get you to close the numbers, don't forget, closing those numbers right now is very critical to your success in 2021. It's time to take those critical decisions that may need management intervention. As we begin to go to the next session, we have a couple of commercials that will be playing. I'd like you to get your questions together. We have courses that are coming up to make your team members, exceptional people in the course of 2021. And we'll have those courses, certification courses, starting from next month. We're going to play in the next 2 minutes a couple of commercials, and we'll be back to take this conversation further. Don't go anywhere. Thank you.
Uniquely designed to equip your team to deliver on revenue targets and ultimately transform them into. Enroll your revenue team in Sales Ruby Certification Program. The Certified Sales Course programs are uniquely designed to equip your team to deliver on revenue targets and ultimately transform them into a top performer in sales. We have trained professionals in GT Bank, Etel, Asa Masad, MTN, Wema Bank, Perfective and Mail, Affirmate Group, among others. Available programs include Certified Basic Sales Course. This course is for professionals intending to kickstart a career in sales, or those that are just getting started in a new sales job, or entry-level salespeople. The program will provide the insights and skills needed to achieve sales quota. 2. Certified Senior Sales Professional. The Certified Senior Sales Professional course is intended for professionals having 3 to 10 years of sales experience and business owners seeking to upskill and drive high business performance. Duration, 8 weeks period. Commitment, 6 to 8 hours per week, aligned with work schedule. Delivery, learner-centric and virtual interactive for participants to connect anywhere. Next cohort starts on November 13, 2021. For more information, call 090-700-47684 or 090-700-47686, or you can send a mail to training@salesruby.com. Enroll your revenue team in Sales Ruby Certification Program. The certified.
All right, thank you very much.
Uniquely designed.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome back. I see a lot of questions asking when is it starting? It's starting next month. We have the 2 sessions starting next month. If you have guys who have not performed very well in the course of this year, don't sack them yet. Don't sack them yet. Send them to us. Send them to us. We promise to transform them from poor performers to exceptional talents. I can guarantee you. I mean, if you want to get started, please call any of those numbers that were displayed on the screen. It will still be shown by my team. Call any of those numbers and we'll get started. All right. Mr. Goma, I'm coming back to you. I mean, we said a lot about how to get prepared and focus on things that matter going to the end of the year. I want to talk about teams and teams management. How important is it to have an aligned team, a team that's 100% aligned with the objectives for this year? And how important is it to closing well? And if it is very important, what you need to do within your own team to have that sense of mission alignment, 100% delivering on these critical requirements of ending the year 2021 exceptionally.
Okay. I think alignment is critical, provided that people understand what the word alignment means. Because I think sometimes we tend to mix between alignment and agreement. So you say you want us to sell 10 million, 100 million, 200 million, and we all say yes.
So, wait a little. I need you to stretch that a little bit. Alignment is critical, provided people understand what alignment means. And you're saying that alignment is not really just agreement or mechanical agreements.
Yes, yes.
So what does it mean?
Alignment means that I have agreed to the idea. I am therefore going to put all my resources and everything to make sure this happens. In one of my previous roles, we had a situation where just something like this. We needed to close the year. And the MD CEO came and said, look, guys, we need to close the year. And basically we're looking at something like, for the last quarter, something like 60% over the previous year for us to actually deliver the results. And I said no. So of course, myself, the supply chain director, we said no. And the whole of that meeting just went ablaze. So the whole of that day, the agenda was thrown to try to get us. And me saying no was not about the target, whether we can meet it or not.
It was being realistic.
Was to say, look, do we understand what we're asking ourselves to do? And is everyone willing to participate in that? So don't make it as a responsibility of the sales team. I can tell you that the sales team alone, we can't deliver this. So that's why I'm saying no. If you want us to deliver this, I want everybody here to commit that you're going to be part of that delivery. And it calls for a different kind of behavior, right? And all the functional heads, marketing, HR, whatever did. And I can
all be in alignment.
Everybody, yes, to be in alignment. And how does that show? It shows in your simple actions. So that particular year, on Christmas Day, the marketing manager cooked, right, and brought food to the supply chain operations room because the supply chain team was making deliveries, ensuring we were still delivering on Christmas Day. That's what alignment is. It's not I agree and I sit and I do nothing.
And I'm aloof.
And I'm aloof.
Because I'm not in sales.
Because I'm not in sales. So I think it's critical to get alignment. I think it's critical for sales leaders and also the rest of the leaders to understand that sales is a complete team game. You know, I always say your salespeople are like your strikers. If they don't get the ball, right, they will not be able to score. Sometimes it is not only the responsibility of the strikers. The teams that play well and win most tournaments are the ones where, yes, the sales team do a lot of the scoring, but other members also contribute, right? Sometimes midfielders can go and score. Sometimes there are people who can adopt an outlet, who can ensure that, okay, we have availability and all of that. So there are all sorts of things. So I think if you agree as a business to have some short-term incentives that will guide overall team behavior and very simple deliverables that people have to make. And if they did that, everything will work. So using the same example, again, the marketing team said, look, we have some materials. So this is what we're going to do. For the delivery truck drivers, we're going to give them one of this item or one of this item if they're able to make X deliveries in a week and they come back on time. Now, this is marketing supporting supply chain to make sure that those things can happen.
And ultimately supporting sales.
Ultimately supporting sales, because sales is not the sales team that sells alone. Everybody sells. My sales director always says, everybody sells or helps to sell. This is the time to bring that to life.
Everybody sells or helps to sell.
Yes.
Guys, so can you type that? Everybody sells or helps to sell.
So this is the time to bring that, and you just have to have some short-term incentives or things that are team-based. And these are things you can always roll over to next, because once you build the right team culture, it never goes away at the end of the year. That will be a platform to say, okay, for next year, actually, this worked for us in Q4. How can we sustain this and how can we make this better? Where the whole organization is functioning to ensure that we deliver. Because at the end of the day, if there are bonuses to be paid, rewards to be gotten, everybody will get if the results are delivered.
Good.
Nobody gets if the results are not delivered. So that's as simple as I can keep it.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'd like to take some questions right now. I see a number of persons are raising their hands. I'll just enable them, to, please raise your hand if you are intending to ask a question, or you can drop the question itself in the question panel. See that you're raising your hand, or you can drop the question. Am I the host? Can I enable people to speak? Okay, Mr. Abayomi Fatai, I want to allow you to speak. Please, if I ask for you, if I ask you to speak in 3-4 minutes and I'm not hearing you, I'll just give the opportunity to somebody else, because we have quite a number of persons raising their hands. So, Mr. Abayomi Fatai, please go ahead and speak.
Okay.
Then after that,
Good afternoon.
Victor Yaloku gets ahead, and Wisdom Ndubisi. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. It's an opportunity to join this session. I really appreciate it, and I've really learned a lot. But without wasting much of our time, the question I would like to ask is, a situation whereby your company has met the target for the year, and currently you are out of stock, but the target that is still being given is still very high, which we know that
the company has met the target for the year as of October.
Yes.
Okay.
The company has met the target for a year as at this October for what we are driving at, because it has been something that has been this very high task. And the team have been able to do the needful. But currently we are really, really out of stock. And there is nothing that can be done about this. Still, the target given is still high. Now, in this kind of a situation, what do you expect the team to do? Is it for us to still keep pushing for the little SKUs that are available? Or once you just okay, since the target has been achieved, of course, the team wants to get an incentive. What can...
Just to be clear, Abayomi, is it that the target was revised because it has been met, or this is just an additional target that is given to say, okay, if we do this extra, we can still get these additional incentives? Just to be clear. And please let us know who you're addressing that question to.
It's not, I think from the beginning of the year. Yes. From, okay, I'm addressing it to Mr. Goma. From the beginning of the year, let's say the company is looking at, say, 10 billion. Are you with me?
Please go ahead.
Okay, the company is looking at, let me say, 10 billion.
The question is clear.
And we've been able to do 11.5 billion. we've been able to do 11.5 billion as at the end of September. Now, the company doesn't have stock. Customers are asking, but there is no way we could get this stock. But the only few SKUs that are available, instead of the company giving a reduced target, the target given is higher. Should, as a salesperson, are you still supposed to keep pushing for those items available, or you should just like reduce the sales and work towards the next year? Thank you.
All right. Victor Yaloku, I'll take the questions together because of time. Victor Yaloku, you can speak now. Please mute yourself, Abayomi Fatai. Victor Yaloku, please go ahead.
Bumi, can you hear me? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please go ahead, Victor. I can hear you loud and clear. And after
Okay,
that, Wisdom and Wale Akikuowo after Wisdom. Please, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. And I wish I could. I wish my question was like Abayomi's question about having met targets in October. But anyway, I'll ask my question. So I like the point made around alignment. And I would like to understand better where you have a situation where your sales team, that is the strikers in this instance, seem to think that they have been left alone. They are not getting the right support, or the guys behind the scene don't think that sales belong to them as well. So therefore, there's this weariness or tiredness, as it were. How do you begin to motivate or reawake the team to say, hey, we're at the finish line, we can do better? How do you bring that alignment to play? How do you deal with things like frictions that will impact sales in that regard? That's my question. Thank you.
Who is that question addressed to? Victor?
Our actor friend.
Actor friend, okay. That's Chidi. All right, Wisdom. Victor, you can mute yourself. You can mute yourself now. Wisdom, Ndubisi, please go ahead and speak. After that, Wale Akikuowo, and that will be the end of the question session. Please go ahead and make your question very brief.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the program. I'm impressed to be part of the program. I work specifically in a fintech organization. Can you hear me?
Can I hear you? Please go ahead.
Okay, I work specifically in a fintech organization, and the current day sales has moved from the conventional sales pattern where you do more of B2B or D2D or B2C. It's more of social media marketing now, because and considering the COVID-19 also, it has limited to some extent the level at which you interact personally or face-to-face with the customers and clients. And sales or marketing has gone beyond the conventional style to the social media marketing. So I want to find out which best of social media marketing can enable a salesperson to meet budget and see how to sustain a target for an organization and for a sales team.
Okay, that question is addressed to who?
I think
Chidi, myself, or Mr. Kuma?
Yeah, any can answer, any that has a better knowledge can answer.
All right, so I'll allow Mr. Guma to answer that question. And lastly, we're going to be taking, please, you can mute yourself. You can mute yourself. Lastly, we're going to be taking Wale Akikuowo.
Yes, sir.
Wale, please go ahead and speak.
Okay, it says, well, Akikuowo, it's a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for this session, Mr. Bumi. I attended your program.
Just to let us know that we are almost about 100 on this platform, and I need to celebrate my team. It's the first time they're getting this kind of number in our webinar. Please, you can in the comment box, you can appreciate them and say, well done, Team BMC. Let me appreciate them so that they don't drop this number the next time.
Okay, well done, everybody.
You say, well done, Team BMC. Well done, Team BMC. Please type it. Please type it in the comment box. All right, go ahead, please, Wale.
Okay. So I said this is a pleasure. I have attended your program way back, and I always my note is even filled right now, and it's such a lovely session. But my question at the moment is related to Mr. Chidi, because he mentioned some of the things that caught my attention about deliverables and removing all sort of too much of analysis. So, can you hear me, sir?
Please go ahead. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So I currently I'm a sales manager at Avant, and I have a new product, which is a ginger juice and then pineapple juice, 100% organic. So just like Mr. Chidi said, I believe also that this is not the right time to launch any product, but then whatever the board of directors want to achieve, of course, you have to make it happen. So I have a huge stock, and unfortunately, the pineapple juice expires within the next 4 months, February. So, and I have a huge stock. So I'm just thinking if there could be a hint or a strategy for me to not necessarily launch, because at the moment we don't have such a budget. So, but then for me to at least sell out within this short time, 2 months. That is my question basically to Mr. Chidi, and then of course Mr. Bumisa.
All right, thank you very much. I'll allow Chidi to answer that. So we have a split of questions. We'll go for a very short break of about 2 minutes. They will answer the questions, and I will allow more questions. We still have a number of talking points. I will extend this meeting by another 10 minutes. Ideally, we should finish at 5 o'clock because we started on the dot of time, but I will send it by 10, 15 minutes so that we can have, we're still talking about 2 other things. We're talking about team motivation, and we're talking about critical factors for creating the pipeline or managing the pipeline, that is required. Please go ahead and we'll go for a short commercial break. And once we're back, we're going to be talking the remaining parts of this conversation.
Program. The certified sales course programs are uniquely designed to equip your team to deliver on revenue targets and ultimately transform them into a top performer in sales. We have trained professionals in GT Bank, Etel, Aston Martin, MTN, Wema Bank, Perfective and Mill, Affirmate Group, among others. Available programs include Certified Basic Sales Course. This course is for professionals intending to kickstart a career in sales, or those that are just getting started in a new sales job, or entry-level salespeople. The program will provide the insights and skills needed to achieve sales quota. 2. Certified Senior Sales Professional. The Certified Senior Sales Professional course is intended for professionals having 3 to 10 years of sales experience and business owners seeking to upskill and drive high business performance. Duration, 8 weeks period. Commitment, 6 to 8 hours per week, aligned with work schedule. Delivery, learner-centric and virtual interactive for participants to connect anywhere. Next cohort starts on November 13, 2021. For more information, call 090-700-47684 or 090-700-47686, or you can send a mail to training@salesruby.com. Enroll your revenue team in Sales Ruby Certification Program. The certified sales course programs are uniquely designed to equip your team to deliver on revenue.
The process of identifying and profiling the sales certificates.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so very much for still being here and for joining us. A lot of questions. I'll just allow the panelists to answer the questions. And there's another question, and I want the three of us to answer that question. And that question is, how can one, push sales team members without getting them exhausted? It is asked by one of my very, 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 reliable clients. I think that was asked by Mr. Samuel. And by the way, if you travel a lot, the travel service provider that you should use is VIP Express. And if you're looking to, Chidi, I know you and your family will be taking a vacation at the end of this year. You need to book that vacation with VIP Express. Somewhere is in this comment section. He will type his details. You can patronize him. Mr. Goma, I know you would be taking a lot of business trips. All right. You manage, I think, all of Africa. So VIP Express will be able to help. So he asked that question: how can one push sales team members without getting them to that point of exhaustion? That's one of the questions that I would like the three of us, to attend to. So, Chidi, please go ahead and answer the question. Please, let's keep it short. I'd ask you to answer the questions, the two questions that were asked you. If you can spend just 2 minutes answering each, that comes to a total of 4 minutes. And then Mr. Goma can go ahead and answer the two questions that were asked from him, 2 minutes each, 4 minutes. And then we go back to the other parts of our conversation. Please go ahead, Chidi.
Okay, thank you, Bumi. I think that's just one of those things. There are quite a lot actually that could be done to be able to help push the sales team to getting some of their tasks, some of their quota, or all the deliverables on their parts, done without getting them burn out or some of those kind of a thing. That number one is something that is very critical is that, you see, when you look at sales enablement, you look at the different resources, the different things that you need to put into play to help salespeople to be able to sell effectively. Now, some of these deliverables from the different teams, I think that some of them should be incentivized. Now, incentivizing some of the tasks that are being assigned to the different teams that are working with the salespeople, including the salespeople, is super important. I used to tell people that one of the very hardest things about sales is that it is not an activity-based role. So what this means is that you could do 101 activities in sales, but you still do not
achieve
your results. So creating those incentives go a long way to motivating salespeople. And sometimes when I speak with some CEOs and business owners who underlook the importance of creating these incentives, I see that there is a problem. Salespeople, of course, even without incentivizing their quota, they tend to, create those winning and happy moments internally, even if you do not incentivize. But I can tell you, I can promise you that if you begin to incentivize some of these things, it is going to go a long way in motivating salespeople. Now, number two, very quickly, is what my colleague Alex mentioned. When you're talking about alignment, for instance, you will see that there's going to be some sort of frictions at times to say that, oh, this is not my own role. This is not my own job. And it looks as if the salespeople are left, on their own to be able to deliver these results. And these things can get the sales team overwhelmed at times. So one of the things that I encourage people, and this is me trying to also answer the question that someone was asking, that when you have all of those other teams who are supposed to play their own parts, who are supposed to contribute their own parts to help the sales team to achieve their goal, if all of these people do not play their role, of course, those things are overwhelming. And one of the things that we have done in my organization, and I encourage everybody listening here to try to do the same thing is, aside the fact that you've been able to create the incentives to reward certain tasks if they are completed, you need to map what we call, OKR tracking. OKR means objective and key results. Now, this is just a performance tracking framework, a performance management framework that helps you to understand what people are supposed to do and then see that they were able to do it eventually. So it doesn't just end with exactly. So it doesn't just end with you, asking that people should do tasks. You should be able to create that data-driven process to understand that this is, for instance, if you're playing in the B2C and somebody is supposed to supply certain raw materials to the production team to be able to produce and get the product ready. The OKR is that kind of performance tracking analysis that will help to understand, to say, did these people deliver the quantity that is needed for sales team to be able to meet their quota? Did marketing team generate the quality and the number of leads that are required to be able to attain their quota? So
okay, maybe you want to take the second question because of our time. I'm just trying to keep my eyes on the time so that we keep it as brief as possible because of work tomorrow too.
All right. So okay, that is fine. So what we're saying in essence is that, which is one of the things I said before, and I said that if you are doing sales and you've not been able to start getting deliberate about building a process that helps you to achieve your sales quota or sales goal, then it is about the time that you start taking that into consideration. Now, into the second question, of course, data is key. And it is data that brings about the first thing that I mentioned, which is the OKR. It is data, that will help you to understand that we aligned in the beginning that these are the things that everybody is supposed to do to be able to help achieve the goal. Now, let's go back to the data that is helping us to understand if all the things, all the deliverables that have been defined have been met. So just like, it was mentioned, sales team being like the strikers, when the midfields are not supplying the passes, not just the passes, but supplying the passes at the right time. This is key. I mean, sales is time bound. You don't generate leads that are meant to be generated 2 months ago, and you're generating it today and expecting the results to be met. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. So being able to tie all of these things together, using data to be able to drive the kind of outputs that is expected, just like one of my friends used to say, says you cannot grow what you cannot measure. This is very, very important. So whenever we are thinking about how to, drive hyper growth in revenue, it is very important that we understand the part of data, in helping to achieve this goal.
Thank you very much, Chidi. I'll go right to Mr. Alex Goma, but again, like Chidi has said, it's important that in managing people, we have a 360-degree view of things. We keep our focus on what is important. Many sales managers want to manage how people see it, how they write, how they call, what they call, whether they document what. I mean, you are just going to wear yourself out doing that. And ultimately, people are going to get disinterested. People are going to dislike you as a sales manager. So what do? You focus on the key results and objectives that have been set. You must make this number of calls. I don't care how you spend your day. Come back with me to show me evidence of how many of those calls you made per day. And it's important. Many sales managers are always tracking one last thing. It is wrong. I keep saying it. You don't track results alone. You must track activities. It is important because activities ultimately feed into results. Salespeople are lazy because their activities are not being tracked. So at the end of the month, they are now racing against time. 1 week to the end of the month. Things that, I want to also imagine that your activities are very aligned with the results that you want to get. So it's not that you're asking people to do things that are not really necessary in your deal process. I want to imagine that you're asking them to prospect. I want to imagine them that you're asking them to set up meetings. I want to imagine that you're asking them to have first engagement. I want to imagine that you're asking them to at least take prospect to the level of negotiation and demo. If those are your activities, just focus on those activities, because it is those activities that feed the result. It's also important as sales leaders that we understand the different makeup of the individuals that work in our team. Some persons are people who, because they are not self-accountable, they need to be monitored on a daily basis. Some people are too accountable, self-accountable for that kind of very close range, monitoring. And if you do that, you're going to get them incensed, you're going to get them pissed off. So if you understand that this person is self-governed, he does not need that much monitoring, but somebody else may need that much monitoring because he himself is not that self-governed, number one. Number two, he's also performing poorly. And that should define how we act. So I'm going to allow Mr. Goma to answer the two other questions from the two other guys. If you can do that in 4 minutes, Mr. Goma.
I think the question is around the company has met its target and it still has additional targets, right? Yes. So again, that's the first question. So I have my own, what I'll call my own personal principles and beliefs. As a salesperson, I never really focused on my target. I always try to look from outside in. What's the opportunity, all right? And because if you focus on just the target, what you might be surprised is that you're stopping yourself from achieving way higher than what your target sets you to be. The second thing is that you're not helping yourself to develop
much bigger than the target.
Yes. You're not helping yourself to focus on the opportunities that therefore help you to develop to become a sales leader. Because if you are responding only to a target, it then means that anytime you only do what you're asked to do. For you to grow, you need to be able to create opportunities for other people and point people to what is higher than that. I just came back from the field. I went to see some of my team guys in Port Harcourt, and we went through some of the outlets. And I simply asked them, how many cases do we sell here? And they said, oh, about 400 cases a month. I just said, okay, let's just take a look at Port Harcourt. How many families, how many people are in Port Harcourt? River State, okay, 6 million. How many people in a household? Average of 6, okay. So you have what? 1 million households. I said, now, if we targeted just 5% of that, all right, how many households would that be? Oh, they said, oh, 25,000. If 25,000 just bought 2 bottles of our product in a month, in a year it will be 24. So let's work it out. What's the opportunity? It came down to 5,000. And I said, but if we were setting a target and we said the company wants to grow 100% next year, we'll set 100%, your 400 will be 800. But have you seen just focusing on the opportunities? Yeah, but I said, if you focus on just 5%, what will that be? 5,000. I said, even if you didn't hit the 5,000, what do you think you'll get? You probably get 1,000 or 2,000. You'll be way above that. But what you have gained is the fact that your ability to see beyond your target and to start thinking of opportunities. Because I then said, look, now you have to look for 25,000 households. So what are you going to do? Do you know where they live? Do you know where they shop? And can you therefore ensure that your product is available where they shop? That's how you break that number down. And that's how you achieve that. So I think that's one way to look at it. Now, to your question around, okay, the company has met the target. I think very simply, if you demonstrate to the company, these are the orders that we have, we're not able to deliver because we're out of stock. I don't think any saying this. If I was the salesperson, I have X orders, Y have not been delivered, and I'll break it down, delivered 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So it's very clear that it's a company that is not meeting its objective. On the other products that we have, I will then look at what are the opportunities that we have there and how much can I push and how high can I get with that. You may surprise yourself with what you're able to get as a result of that. So don't constrain yourself because you're given a target. Think of the opportunities. You might be surprised what you challenge yourself that you're capable of doing. That's the kind of mindset that develops you to become a leader. Because when you're leading other people, you have to open their mindset to what the opportunities are. And that's what starts to differentiate you from the people who are waiting to be given a target for them to
given instructions.
The second question was around social media marketing, which one to use. Guys, let's be very simple, right? There's a very simple process when you talk about this thing. People go through awareness, and then they will consider a product, they try the product, they become a regular user, right? You can get awareness through old medium, and you can get awareness through social media. Don't be obsessed with social media. If it is not a platform that allows you to be able to sell, which means there's a call to action, you're just spending your money going haywire. There's a very simple thing again that we need to consider. Okay, sometimes, okay, people say, oh, we have 20,000 likes on Facebook. I said, so what? Does it translate to somebody buying the product? Unless there's a button there where the person can press and automatically buy, and there's an exchange between the person's debit card and our account for the sale to happen. Now, if you're on Jumia and that happens, yes, you're selling. But if you're on Facebook where is a conversation around it, you know what, until the line happens where the transaction happens, you have not sold. So social media is good for awareness. It's good to help you build consideration. If you don't have an action key that translates into a sale, it doesn't help you sell. So, and selling only happens when people try, or they consume your product regularly, or they are loyal users. That they like your product and they do not buy it, you have not sold. So don't be obsessed about social media is a means to help you drive awareness, is a means to help drive engagement with the consumer. But if you don't have an action button that allows you to translate that engagement into sale, you just poured water in a basket.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for that insight. As we begin to wind down, I have just 2 questions. Unfortunately, I'm not able to take more questions. Maybe I'll take one if time allows. Well, I think I've already taken Jeremy, Emmanuel Alu. Maybe I'll take just you. Just so stick around. And like I've said repeatedly on this thread, we have the basic sales mastery course starting next month, and the advanced sales professional course starting next month. The 2 courses have been designed with faculties drawn from across Africa, from Kenya, from Ghana, from South Africa, and from Nigeria. Incredible guys, even from the US, you know, for over 2 months to train your guys in the basics of sales, and for the professional, for the advanced, in the managerial requirements for selling. We're going to be looking at things like pipeline generation, pipeline management, opportunity generation, and opportunity management. We're going to be looking at things like the challenger sales approach and stuff like that. So very, 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 very interesting, you know, and it is very extensive. This is not just a classroom-based training. This is a training that incorporates a lot of class work, a lot of group work, a lot of presentations, a lot of rules play in class, and that's why we can only take 25. In a class, we cannot take more than 25. So if you want to register, today is the best time to register. Interestingly, I also have coming up, because I am intentional at helping people to end this year on a high note, I am going to be having another session next week. Next week, it is going to be focused on the 5. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we lost you for a bit, but I think you came back now.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank goodness. Okay, so like I said, I'm still going to be having another session next week. And that session is to help you understand the 5 strategies you need to perfect to end this year on a high note. I'm going to be talking about your competition intelligence. I'm talking about your market intelligence and market understanding. I'm going to be talking about your product strategy and how you need to align things for the end of the year. I'm going to be talking about people strategy and pipeline management strategy, focused for the end of the year. It is happening October 31, 4 p.m. The reason I am doing this, I do not want you to end this year with excuses. My team will drop the link to register. I want you to end 2021. You have given excuses in 2020. They were accepted. They were acceptable, not in 2021 again. COVID cannot be your excuse, ladies and gentlemen. So please register. My team will drop the link to that registration right away, and you can be a part of that particular training. It is free. It is free. It is a training, just 1 hour, and it will help you to end the year on a high note. So as we round off, Mr. Chidioji, let me ask, how can salespeople reduce deal slippage and increase closure rates as we close the year? How can they reduce deal slippage and increase closure rates as we close the year? If you can do this in 3-4 minutes, I'll be glad. And I'll come back to you, Mr. Goma, to ask how organizations can, harmonize their team for increased employee productivity. And ask another question. I have another question for you. All right, please go ahead, Chidi.
Yeah, thank you, Bumi. Just like I already mentioned, and again, because of time, I've explained a few things in the beginning, and I said that one of the ways to be able to take control of what you are doing in terms of your sales, in terms of achieving your revenue goal, is you need to have a sales process that fits into your buyer's journey. Okay, you need to be very deliberate. So I hear a lot of people sometimes because they feel that having a sales process is key to achieving sales numbers. But I do have to mention that it is not just enough to have a sales process. You have to have a sales process that is refined to, aligning with your buyer's journey that helps you to be able to achieve your quota. So what it means is that in the attempt of monitoring where certain slippages are happening within your sales process, you need to put that into consideration of what are your buyer's journey in trying to make purchase for what product or services that you are selling. And what this also means, feeding into the next, is that for the different stages of your sales process, you need to create your cadences that help you to monitor the different touch points so that in that friction that you are studying, remember what I mentioned earlier, I said that in trying to achieve your sales numbers, there are many reasons why people are slipping up, why people are not making the purchases, why the deals are slipping at a different point in time. So when you have a sales process that helps you to track and monitor those frictions, the next thing that you then need to do is to define the tactics to be able to solve or deal with some of the frictions. Like Bumi mentioned, you see sometimes you see some deals that are very ripe, but the challenge there is pricing. The customer is asking for 15% discount, but you are only allowing for 10%. I think that as the year is winding down, you need to go back to those kind of deals and then look at what are the opportunities that you have if you agree to doing that 15% discount as against the 10% that you originally or you initially allowed. So what I'm saying in essence is that being able to have a sales process that helps you to track frictions is super important for you to be able to do your sales run rates as the year is winding down. And of course, like I mentioned, for many reasons and for many businesses and for many kinds of products that you are selling, these frictions, they range from brand trust, price related, billing structure. Maybe sometimes people are saying, can we make 6 months, advance payment as against making 1 year payment? Just like, for some of us in the B2B space, where you are maybe selling a subscription-based product, people are meant to pay for 1 year or 2 years or 6 months. But this time around, they are saying, can we make 3 months subscription just to be able to use the product and see that it works before we can go on? So I think that flexibility, is key in this area to be able to help you to deal with most of those sales frictions that you are having during your sales engagement. And that I think that's
Thank you very much, Chidi. Mr. Goma, as we round off this session, I'd like you to leave us with your parting shot. What do you think CEOs, revenue leaders, business owners, heads of sales and heads of commercials need to do right now going forward? If there are 3-4 action points that you want to call us to engage, what would they be to close the year on a high note as we round off? Just before you do that, I say it again, we are going to be having a very fantastic session next Sunday again. It is all intended for you to end the year on a high note. Please register. The link has already been dropped in the comment section. The link to register has been dropped. You can register right away. Also, to be a part of our certificate courses for your sales team members, you can call any of the numbers that have been showing on the screen. The numbers will again be dropped. The registration link will be dropped, and the numbers to call to register will be dropped, or you can send an email. All right. Mr. Goma, what will be your parting shot to revenue leaders and decision makers, heads of business, leading sales and revenue growth?
I think for me, very simple. At this stage, if you get a group of the guys at the middle level, just a very small team, not a large team, right, representing the critical functions, and you task them to say, look, guys, this is what we want to do for the year end. What are the 2-3 things that will make the biggest difference for us? And then what are the things you require from us for that to happen, right? What you'll find out is because they're working as a multifunctional team and you've empowered them with their functional heads. I want this to happen. I need to see what we need to do. You might just be surprised what can come out. We did something similar for my organization, and the guy said, look, one of the areas we have a challenge is packaging. And for us to end the year end completely, we recommend let's pay upfront for what we need for balance of the year. And in the meeting, we just said done. So go and pay is X amount of pay upfront for it, so we know it's secured. So we don't have the excuse. And of course, because you've prepaid with the suppliers, which is not the usual normal term, you get right of first refusal. But it's getting the team together to say, okay, we want to do that. Or okay, for the guys in the plant, we want to do a simple incentive. Okay, what's the incentive? This is it, but it's based on for everybody will get something. Okay, if this, they must hit this. If they did that, fine. So again, everybody will be in it. So I think if you keep things simple, have 1 or 2 simple team-based incentives, put a small team to look at the things that are nitty-gritty, right? We had a team together, and when they came to present, the first question I asked is, why are we having this meeting? Because if we were running a business where we shouldn't have been having this meeting. And there were lots of eye-openers. Oh, we're not talking to each other. We're not. So how do we solve that? So just by talking to each other, you'll be amazed the amount of problems that you solve, because one unit or one functional head or somebody else. Leaders are the ones that are supposed to remove the handbrakes that are stopping your businesses from running business. So like I said at the beginning, don't make it too complex, all right? This is year end, so you don't need to start doing all 20 things. 3-4 things. So in my head is very clear. We must make product available. We must make sure that we have delivery reliability. For us to make product available, we must make sure packaging is available. We must make sure that we can have the right trucks and whatever. So what do we need to do? If we have to pay extra over and above what we were paying before, well, maybe that's what we have to do. But I think it's just to keep it very simple, not, oh, let's go and launch one new marketing campaign. Let's go and do one new initiative. Let's go and do this. Let's go and do that. No, this is not the time that those things will work for you. We have a very short time. So keep it simple, 2 or 3 things at the most, and just keep everybody focused about that.
Thank you very much. And if I must add to that, I want to encourage you to heighten activities. There must be increased activities. We're going to see growth. Growth, like I said, it's going to be the outcome of activities. So if you need, if your model has been to work from the office or work from home and sell, if you need to now have physical engagement, if that's what part of the things that can produce results, please go ahead and do it. If you have encouraged, I mean, Mr. Goma just said that he had to be in Port Harcourt, you know, even as a CEO, leading from the front. And that's what you want to do right now. You must be visible. That's number 2. This is not the time as a CEO, as a business leader, unit leader, as to be evasive, either of calls or of engagement, either with clients or some of your direct reports who wants problems solved. Some persons, this is the time they will fix their leave. I don't think this is the best time to take a leave. You want to heighten expectations right now and deliver growth right now. You want to be visible. You want to be available for your people, because if you solve the problem promptly, they can deliver for you ultimately. And don't forget, please, you can register for next week's webinar. Is going to be this hot. If you have gotten value from this training, can you deliver? Can you type in the comment box? Thank you, Chidi. Thank you, Alex Goma, and of course, thank me also. Thank Bumi, and thank my team. Thank you, BMC, because they made this happen. If you have gotten value, please, before you go, can you type, thank you, Chidi, thank you, Mr. Alex Goma, thank you, Bumi Jambola, thank you, BMC. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. You have just one outcome. This year, it is to end on an incredibly high note in terms of your revenue deliverable this year. It's been nice having you guys join me. I look forward to seeing you next week, like I said. And please do endeavor to register your team members for this course certifications. We have an ongoing discount that ends, and I think in about a week or 2 weeks from now. I'm not exactly sure. I think it ends about 2 weeks from now. You can take advantage of that. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much, Mr. Alex Goma, for being here. I mean, we call you the grandfather of revenue leadership in Africa. All right, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much, Chidi, my good friend. You didn't ask for us any drama today. I was surprised. I was expecting to see some drama skits. But thank you for being here. Good to have you. And I wish you a lot of success in your drive to grow seamless HR. If you're looking for fantastic HR solutions made in Nigeria that you can pay for in Naira, talk to Chidi. And thank you very much, Mr. Alex Goma, once again. I've been very, very, I've learned a lot myself from this session. It's been an incredibly valuable session. Have a very fantastic evening, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, and good to be here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I've learned a lot today. Thank you, Mr. Goma. Everybody. Thank you, Chidi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you so very much, everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm.